My ex used my credit to build her dream life. Now I own everything she lost while she's begging me to help her start over. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I used to believe that love meant building a future together, no matter what it cost. I met Vanessa when I was 25. I was working a decent job at a mid-tier logistics company, but it paid the bills, gave me health insurance, and helped me slowly chip away at my student loans. Vanessa, though, she was something else entirely. She had this magnetic energy, like she was always the main character in a movie only she could see. She talked about opening her own boutique, becoming a lifestyle influencer, launching a YouTube channel, even flipping condos like she was the next Joanna Gaines. Every week, it was a new dream, a new empire, and every time she spoke, she made you believe it could happen, especially me. I admired that about her. I really did. She made my life feel bigger, more exciting, more colorful, but somewhere along the line, I didn't notice that all her dreams came with price tags and they were all being mailed to my address. She'd bounce between short-lived jobs: barista, receptionist, marketing intern, but nothing ever lasted more than a few months. They just didn't get me, she'd say. I'm meant for more. And maybe she was. But when rent was due, groceries were low, and she wanted to invest in herself. It was always my credit card she reached for. She didn't even need to ask. Vanessa had this way of making you feel like if you didn't support her, you were part of the world holding her back. And I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be her partner, the one who helped her sort out, so I kept saying yes, even when I didn't want to. And that was just the beginning. It started smaller co-signed loan for a business investment. She swore would change everything. Vanessa came to me one night glowing with excitement. She had found the perfect bundle top-tier camera gear, a lighting setup, editing software, and even a year's subscription to some design course she barely skimmed. "This is it," she said, gripping my hands like she was about to launch a rocket. "This is the beginning of my brand. I just need a little push, and I want you to be part of it." To be honest, I hesitated. It was over $6,000 money I didn't have, and she definitely didn't. But she looked at me like saying no would mean I didn't believe in her, that I was just another person doubting her potential. And I didn't want to be that, so I co-signed. I remembered the day it all arrived. She tore open the packages like it was Christmas morning, set up a backdrop in the living room, posed with the ring light, and posted an unboxing video before the tripod was even assembled. Then, nothing. For the next few weeks, I waited for her to build momentum. But instead of content, all I saw were mirror selfies in expensive outfits, brunch stories, and inspo quotes with designer purses in the background. No tutorials. No branding. Just aesthetics. When I brought it up, gently, she got defensive. "Do you know how hard it is to create a brand? I'm building a vibe first. You don't get it." I didn't. Not really. But I let it go. I told myself maybe this was just part of her process, that eventually the returns would come. But in the back of my mind, I had this sick feeling because I'd seen her post 3 new luxury outfits that month, and I knew exactly whose card she used. One loan turned into 5. One little favor snowballed into full-blown dependence. Vanessa never outright asked for more after that first loan. She just assumed. Like when her old car broke down and she wanted something reliable and on-brand, I found out she'd already applied for a lease in my name. "It's just easier," she said casually. "Your credit score is better. I'll make the payments, promise." It happened again with a business credit card. "Separate finances are better for taxes," she said. The card arrived 2 days later, maxed out in 3 weeks. Every time I opened my banking app, I flinched, and still, I stayed. I told myself this was what building a life together looked like: temporary strain for long-term gain. She kept saying, "Don't you want to see me win?" And I did. God, I did. But winning looked a lot like constant shopping sprees. Endless content creation lunches at places I couldn't afford on my own. A $400 skincare fridge that somehow counted as a business expense. She posted every part of the dream designer packaging, mood boards, curated outfits, but never the grind. I started picking up extra freelance work just to stay afloat. She'd kiss me on the forehead and call me her silent investor, like that was supposed to be romantic. Our apartment, my apartment, turned into a mini photo studio. There were always boxes arriving, light set up, packaging materials scattered across the kitchen. but nothing ever shipped out. There was no product, no launch, just ... aesthetic. My friends started pulling me aside, asking if I was okay. One even said, "Man, she's living her dream, but are you?" I laughed it off. But that question stuck, because deep down, I already knew the answer. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the lies. The first real crack showed up when I got an email from the bank. A late payment notice for the car she promised was handled. When I brought it up, she waved it off. "Babe, that's just a system glitch. I set up autopay." Her voice had that impatient edge that made me feel stupid for even asking. But something in her tone, it wasn't guilt. It was irritation that I'd noticed. A week later, another notice came. Then another. The balances weren't being paid, and my credit score was starting to dip. I finally sat her down. "Vanessa, what's going on? You told me these were current." She rolled her eyes, sighed dramatically. "Why are you so paranoid? I'm doing my best, okay? You have no idea how stressful it is to be the one chasing a dream." That line hit me hard. Somehow, I became the villain in a story where she was the struggling artist. I started second-guessing myself, apologizing for pressuring her. But late at night, when she was asleep, I'd scroll through her socials, and it felt like I was watching a stranger. Brunches, shopping hauls, selfies at rooftop bars. Hashtags like #BossEnergy and #BuildingMyBrand under photos that looked nothing like the life we were actually living. Then came the moment I couldn't ignore. A friend sent me a screenshot from Vanessa's private story. She was laughing at a meme about men who work 9 to 5 South and think they're entrepreneurs. My name was in the caption. I stared at that image for a long time. Something in me shifted. The woman I'd been defending for years wasn't who I thought she was, and for the first time I started wondering how deep the damage really went. The final straw was when my credit card got declined at a grocery store checkout line. It was a small errand, just essentials. Eggs, coffee, toothpaste. The total was under $40, and I didn't even think twice as I swiped my card. But the beep was sharp. Declined. I tried again. Declined. The cashier looked at me with that tight, uncomfortable smile people use when they're trying not to judge you. I used my debit card instead, barely enough in their butt as I walked to the parking lot. I opened my banking app and my stomach dropped. Vanessa had maxed it out. Again, when I got home, she was lounging on the couch in a silk robe, scrolling through her phone like nothing happened. I dropped the grocery bag on the counter a little louder than I should have. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was shaking. Asterisk, she looked up, completely unfazed. "About what now?" "My credit card. It's maxed." "Again, you said you weren't going to use it anymore." She shrugged. "I needed a few things." "Relax. It's not like I bought a yacht." That's when I snapped. "I can't even buy groceries. Vanessa, I'm paying for your dream, your car, your everything, and you don't even care. You promised me this would be temporary, that you'd pay me back." She rolled her eyes like I was boring her. "You're so dramatic. You knew what you were signing up for. Why are you acting surprised now?" I stood there in silence, and in that moment, I realized something brutal. She never planned on paying me back, because in her mind, I wasn't a partner, I was just a wallet with feelings. She grabbed her keys and left. No apology, no discussion, just walked out like I was the inconvenience that night. I stared at the ceiling for hours, and for the first time, I knew this relationship wasn't salvageable. I thought breaking up would free me, but I was still chained to everything she built with my name. The night she walked out, I told myself it was over, that I could finally breathe. But freedom didn't come. Instead, the bills did. Past due notices, collection threats, interest stacking like bricks on my chest. Every financial decision she made still had my signature at the bottom. The car was in my name. The boutique lease, yep, mine too. To credit cards, an online business line of credit, even the Wi-Fi account. She'd wrapped her entire fantasy life in my identity, then walked away like it wasn't hers to unpack. I called her once just to ask if she'd handle anything. Her voice was flat. "You're the one who co-signed. You knew what this was." Then she hung up. That was the moment everything flipped. I stopped grieving and started planning. I met with a financial advisor, embarrassed and exhausted, and laid it all out. She didn't judge me. She just said, "You can clean this up, but it'll take time. You'll have to be surgical, so I became surgical. I counseled every joint account. I filed fraud alerts on the ones she opened without telling me. I started freelance consulting on the side nights, weekends, anywhere I could make cash fast. I cut down to the essentials. No takeout, no streaming, no social life, and slowly, painfully, I began to clean up her mess, not for her, not even to get back at her, but for me. I realized then I was never part of her dream. I was just the scaffolding she stood on to build it. Now she was gone. But my name, my credit, my life, I was about to reclaim every single piece of it. I went ghost for everyone but the grind. I sold my gaming setup first, then my TV, then the designer watch Vanessa bought for content shoots using my card. I downgraded my apartment to a studio with paper-thin walls and zero sunlight. I stopped going out, stopped ordering in, and stopped responding to texts that weren't about work. I became obsessed with repairing what she broke. I picked up freelance gigs SEO writing, small business consultations, even a few overnight shifts at a warehouse, just to keep the debt from swallowing me. I slept for hours a night and poured every cent into paying down balances, one ugly bill at a time. And while I was scrubbing her mess off my life, I kept tabs quietly. Her influencer page slowed down. The photos got less glossy, the captions more desperate. One day, I saw her post a story from a dingy apartment, tagging a new guy. Another collab, probably. But her boutique closed. The studio lease was canceled. The brand she swore would change the game vanished into digital dust. It should have made me feel better. But it didn't, not yet. Because while she moved on, like none of it mattered, I was still cleaning up the emotional wreckage. The nights I questioned my own intelligence. The mornings I woke up with anxiety like fire ants under my skin. The constant shame of being the guy who got used, but slowly, something shifted. For the first time in years, I wasn't doing anything for her. Not for her dreams. Not for her approval. Just for me. The debt was shrinking. My credit score started inching up again. And I was starting to remember who I was before Vanessa turned me into a sponsor with a heartbeat. I wasn't done yet, not even close. But I was getting stronger, and she had no idea what was coming next. Funny how the things she bought for herself ended up in my name, so I claimed them once I had breathing room enough bills paid to stop drowning. I went back to the paperwork. The boutique lease had defaulted. The landlord had reached out months ago, ready to sue me for the unpaid balance. But when I looked closer, the lease was in my name, not hers. She'd ghosted the space, left boxes and props scattered like confetti after a failed party. So I called the landlord, negotiated, and offered a deal. I'd pay the balance if I could sublet the space. They agreed, and just like that, the empty studio Vanessa abandoned became mine legally, fully, undeniably. I spent 2 weekends gutting it, painting the walls myself, scraping off the fake decals she'd slapped up for Instagram. I listed it as a creative co-working space for local photographers and videographers. Within 2 weeks, I had renters. Then there was the car. She stopped making payments long ago. I contacted the dealership, arranged for a voluntary repossession before it tanked my credit further. They auctioned it off, and I recouped a few grand, not much, but enough to finally close that chapter, piece by piece. I stripped her dream life down to what it really was, a pile of borrowed fantasies stacked on top of my signature. And I turned every one of them into something real, something functional, something mine ought. She thought she was building a future with my name, but she didn't realize I was keeping the receipts. I didn't gloat, didn't post about it, didn't say a word to her. I just built quietly, strategically, like a man who finally saw himself as more than just someone's foundation. And the best part, she still thought I was struggling months later. She showed up at my door, makeup ruined, voice shaking, asking for help. It was a Sunday night. I'd just finished a client call when I heard the knock. I opened the door, and there she was, Vanessa, standing in the hallway like a ghost from a life I barely recognized. Her designer purse was gone, replaced by a torn canvas tote. Her hair, once immaculately styled, was tied in a limp, messy knot, and her eyes, they were hollow. "Can I come in?" she whispered. I didn't move. I just stared at her. My heart thudded in a strange rhythm, part anger, part disbelief, part pity. I don't have anywhere else to go," she said, voice cracking. "I messed up. I know. But I'm trying to start over." Turns out, her new collab boyfriend drained her accounts and bailed. The cousin she moved in with kicked her out. She'd been couch surfing, jobless, scraping by on odd gigs and Uber Eats vouchers. And now, with winter creeping in, she had nowhere left. "I just need a place to sleep for a few nights. Please," she added, eyes welling up. For a second, I froze. There was still a part of me small, quiet, but alive, that remembered the girl I once loved. The late-night talks, the laughter, the dreams we used to fake together. But then I remembered everything else. The debt, the lies. The way she used me like scaffolding and cut me loose the second she didn't need me. The way she smirked when I begged her to be responsible. The way I almost lost everything. She was standing on my welcome mat, but I was the one who finally felt home. I didn't slam the door, but I didn't let her in either. I didn't slam the door, invited her in, not because I wanted to save her, but because I wanted her to see it. The place looked nothing like the apartment she remembered. New furniture, clean walls, plants I actually kept. Alive, and silence the peaceful, earned kind. She sat on the edge of the couch, hands trembling in her lap, eyes darting like she expected me to yell or break down. I didn't. Instead, I opened a folder from the table and handed her a sheet. Then another, and another. Car lease, paid. Boutique lease, transferred and monetized. Credit cards, settled. Credit score, restored. I looked her dead in the eyes. "Everything you walked away from, I cleaned up." And flipped. She blinked, confused. "That studio you abandoned. I rented out now, the car. Sold and turned into seed money. The brand you couldn't build. I used it as a tax write-off while I got my actual life together." She started crying. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad." But I just shook my head. "You didn't mean for you to lose. That's the difference." She tried to reach for my hand. I stood up. "Vanessa, I'm not mad anymore. I'm not bitter. I'm not heartbroken. But I am done being a safety net for people who only remember me when they're falling." She begged, apologized, even tried to flirt, like we were still us, but we weren't. That man, the one who once would have done anything to keep her happy, was gone. I walked her to the door, opened it gently, and said, "I hope you find whatever you're looking for. But it's not here." And this time, I was the one who walked away first. I used to hate everything she left me with. Now I'm thriving because of it. It's been over a year since I closed that door. A lot's changed since then, not overnight, but piece by piece, like fitting myself back together after being shattered. The studio Vanessa left behind, it's now a full-blown creative co-working space. I rent it out to photographers, podcasters, even a local startup that uses it for product shoots. Funny how her branding vision finally made money, just not for her. I rebuilt my credit, opened a savings account that's actually growing, took a couple of online courses in business strategy and financial literacy, and for the first time in years, I feel secure, not flashy, not Instagram-worthy, just real. I even met someone new. Her name's Tessa. She's quiet, kind, works in community outreach, doesn't care about clout or clicks. On our first date, I told her everything, every red flag I ignored, every mistake I made, every dollar I lost. She didn't flinch. She just listened, then said, "It sounds like you survived a storm and learned how to build shelter." That stayed with me. Sometimes I still see Vanessa pop up online. Her posts are less curated, now more chaotic. One week she's starting a podcast. The next, she's trying to sell NFTs or skincare dropships. Always chasing something, never stopping long enough to build anything. I don't feel angry when I see her anymore. I just feel free, because I'm not the guy who gets used anymore. I'm the guy who learned, who grew, who turned the wreckage into a foundation. And the best part, no one handed me this life. I built it with every broken piece she left behind. She built her dream with my name. Now I own that dream, and I built something better. Looking back, I don't even recognize the version of myself that let her walk all over me. The guy who co-signed loans without reading fine print, who confused love with sacrifice, who mistook manipulation for ambition. That guy? He's gone, buried somewhere beneath the debt statements and sleepless nights. What replaced him isn't bitter, just wiser. I learned that loyalty means nothing if it's not mutual. That supporting someone's dream doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. And most of all, he learned that people will show you exactly who they are. If you stop making excuses for them, Vanessa didn't ruin me. She revealed me because it took her tearing everything down for me to realize I was capable of building something real on my own. These days, people come to me for advice. Clients, younger freelancers, even friends who saw what I went through and ask how I bounced back. I tell them the truth. I didn't bounce. I climbed with bloody hands and a bruised ego, one rung at a time, and the legacy I'm building now. It's not about revenge or proving her wrong. It's about proving myself right. I don't check her social media anymore. I don't wonder where she is or what she's doing. That chapter's closed, but I'll never pretend it didn't happen, because sometimes the most important people in your story are the ones who teach you what never to accept again. So here I am. Not the man she used to control. Not the credit score she wrecked. Not the backup plan she ran to when the world got hard. Just me finally whole. And this time, every inch of the life I'm standing on is mine.